right. I cut it halfway short because 6 minutes just too long. Too long. Hello, Mike. How are you tonight, my friend?
Doing well. How are you?
Pretty good, all things considered. It's been a Chinook in Calgary, Alberta, Canada for the last couple of weeks now, so it's been above freezing, which is pretty rare for February, and it's been nice.
Yeah, we've had kind of some of the similar. It actually snowed last night for the first time in a while, but then it turned to rain and been raining all day today. So we've been all over the map for sure.
As long as it's not freezing rain, that's when it becomes an issue.
Oh, yeah. Ice is no joke.
All right. Well, I will enlarge you as what do you have to show us today? That pyramid.
Yeah, I brought this pyramid down. I was doing some looking at it with language and stuff the other day, and I thought it'd be a good one to share. What's
And
interesting?
Compartments in it?
Nope, no, it's just a solid piece of limestone on this one.
Oh, constellation.
Yeah, that's a pretty recognizable one there. And I'm not sure which bird this is specifically. I've been trying to kind of figure that out because that's always pretty important.
Yeah.
And you see this little guy down here.
A reptilian holding not the ankh, the
staff. This staff.
Yeah.
So, and what's crazy is this is also that same species, I believe, coupled with it here as well. They're all slightly different, but they all definitely have a.
And they seem to also appear in parallel with the elongated angel entity things.
Yeah, they're definitely. If you see that, I'll zoom out if I can here. Oh, maybe there we go. But yeah, you can see they're all working towards something in the middle there, which is, if I can show it, it's a very odd. It's carved to heck.
Oh wow, that's a lot of information in there. Hey?
Weird, huh? Yeah, there's some interesting symbols here too. I'll show you. This one specifically over here. It's got the Star of David with inside of a pyramid with multiple circles, or the Star of
Renfrew. Yeah, I believe those are alchemical sigils.
Yeah, you see that a lot
around them.
This is a lot more looking alchemical symbols here. This specifically, I think I've seen before.
Oh, many of them. Most of them I've seen.
Yeah.
Look at those are straight up sigils on the.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, crazy stuff.
I'm gonna have to pull up several of those that you just showed. I actually have their pictures of them with their meanings or whatnot that I've actually covered in an episode recently. I'm going to try to pull that up. This is amazing. Like, those are all straight alchemical symbols.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Yep.
Especially on that skull. Wow. No, on all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, planetary and astronomical language, or astrological language, is a very common theme. I don't know if I showed you these. Some interesting geometry here too with the Metatron's cube.
Oh yeah, and the hole in the center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the hole goes through, and you can see it. If you put a light behind it, it looks like the scarab's holding the sun.
Oh wow. Oh, if you had that like in your wall or something in a window, it would also glow with
Yeah,
the.
I was trying to figure out how I could like make it work. I'm gonna flip it around here so I can show you with one hand. Look at that.
Wow.
Pretty cool. And they a lot of them do that. Now that I just figured out I could show you this way. Well, this one might be a little tricky here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't really
Just
recognize a
so
lot of the
amazing.
symbols in a way, Los. Like a lot of, well, like this here I recognize. I don't know what it
Yeah, those
is.
almost look more like
Proto.
Olmec Aztec Mayan style.
Mm-hmm. Definitely on a different page for sure. So that's why I think the time frame between Tula and Abuelos is probably similar in terms of their history, but also from a different period in time. Like you're seeing, 10 to 20,000 years there. I'll be anxious to see some of these bones get identified from Tula just to compare. Still yet to see a quality carbon date from anything from Tula. We've tried numerous statues and inlays, but none of it has carbon in it, or organic material rather.
Really, that's got to be frustrating.
Super frustrating. Yeah. It's frustrating for the lab too. They've been really nice and like, not charged us for a lot of the scans that didn't come back conclusive. So that's really nice. This piece here might have good organic
Detail.
carbon. These inlays this is one of the only green statues with these inlays like this.
That's amazing. And yeah, so the biological material being the adhesive used in the inlays, right?
Yeah, the organic stuff sometimes is found in the adhesives. We found it in the Awelo stuff, like you can see here on this, like this inlay that's in here. If you look at the corner down here, how it's got a red adhesive that's kind of gummed up around it. Oh, I can hit it with this light. There we go. Yeah, much better. So that adhesive has
Oh
the
yeah.
organic material, and I'm not sure exactly what is the organic component, whether it's copal resin or blood or who knows. It has to be something that's going to be looked at closer by a lab. Haven't found a lab willing to do that breakdown for us yet. Reverse engineering something is very costly, takes a lot of trial and error because you're basically throwing it at one thing at a time and seeing how much of it's there and then trying to put it together, reverse.
Right, piecing it one at a time. And that you basically you stated that you feel like the red adhesive is basically like the seal of authenticity. If there's like a clear glue or whatever, then you're like, no, this
Yeah.
is a fraud. If it's got the red, it's the same
I can
as
show you I can
normal.
show you an example here of two pieces that one I feel is genuine with no question, and then one that we would have to get tested to be sure. And the reason I say this is because if you look here, you can see the red glue around the eye, right? Like it's primitive looking on how that was put on there in a sense. I mean, to
Yep.
put a stone inside of a stone is no easy task, so I don't want to discredit their work. But nonetheless, if you had primitive tools, this would be a task. And so if you look at this one over here, notice how different it looks.
Oh yeah, that's completely different.
Yeah. And even in the grooves and stuff too, there's differences, and so it doesn't mean for sure anything, but this is one I would be more wanting to test to see versus this. I'm confident, it even has an ancient repair, and that's why I'm so confident. I waited to flip it over, but you can see here they use the red glue to put this back together.
Oh yeah.
So that's really great indicators because any piece that's been broken coming out of the ground or that's been given me by those guys always has super glue. Um, because I find they don't put it on right, or they don't know how to wipe it off, and you can always see the glimmer of it.
The truth shall always come out. And look at that thing. That is definitely a dark summoning mirror of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Or potentially to watch solar eclipses through, maybe.
That's interesting. I got to show you the back of it here now. That's a really interesting thought. Now, I don't think it shows that on the back per se, but maybe.
Oh, yeah, look at that. To look at the sun, it's for sun watching. It's straight up for sun watching.
Something.
Like, that's right above his eyes. Look at the symbols.
So see these wings? See that bone coming out right
Yes, sir.
there? They found a new mummy down there in Peru, and it has this weird bone coming out of the back. And I seen it a couple days ago, and today I was sitting there, and it all of a sudden just clicked to me that it was absolutely like the foundation of what would be there if there was a wing. So I'm fairly confident that what they found down there might be. I was trying to find a better example, piece wise here to show you, but the one I had is upstairs. Go figure.
Always the case once live, right?
Yeah, no, but it was absolutely, I mean, dead
You're
on.
like, I've seen this before.
Actually, I might have sent it to you. Did you you might be able to pull it up on there, but
I got it on my phone, but I have yet to be able to get WhatsApp working on my computer, the pain in the
oh.
butt. But
Go figure too. Yeah, yeah.
oh,
Run.
you did send the Nibiru sigil.
Yeah, so on another piece that came from that same dig with the piece that has, so 2 years ago, these pieces came out of the ground. I didn't know what symbol that was. I talked to my wife. I was thinking about getting it tattooed. I'd really liked it, and I'd never seen it. I couldn't find anyone that knew what it was. And so today, obviously this whole thing with these mummies, and I was looking at things, and that symbol popped up in the alchemical symbols, for the astrological. The Babylonians had a, for planets that were hypothetical, like Ishtar, or is it Ishtar that was, no, what's the one that was destroyed by
Marduk
Marduk?
or Tiamat, I believe.
Tiamat, yeah. That's the one there, that there's also a symbol for. And Nibiru, there's a symbol, and then there was a couple other ones that I didn't recognize the names of. But it was cool to see that they had hypothetical symbols that I'd never seen, and then it hit me that it was the exact same symbol that I was thinking about getting a tattoo of, and turns out it's a Nibiru Anunnaki symbol, which goes hand in hand with these pieces. But nonetheless, just another thing to be like, wow, I'm learning from these pieces heavily still by the day. These came out of the ground
Why?
2 years ago, and we're just now putting together what we're finding. It's crazy to think like that, but um, that's absolutely where we're at. I'll show you this pyramid that I brought down. It's got a really great UV to it here.
Oh yeah. Look at Thoth on there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's so detailed. Some of these pieces are just like, to get it to look like that is really artistic.
That's wild. Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna do the other side here. It's got a really cool indentation thing. It like sits back
Right,
because
like it
it's
gives
literally.
it depth. Like there adds
Uh-huh.
shading in it.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, it's really, really well done for sure.
It really is. That guy goes red and then has the green.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna try to show the. I'm gonna turn the light back on just to show you real quick here, because that star, it's a seven-pointed star, which is pretty iconic. The Vatican actually in St. Peter's has a seven-pointed star on the floor that looks very similar. It even has a similar patterning around the edge, which was really interesting. It does not have the
Oh, it
balls.
turns it into a sigil with the circle around it.
Yeah, well, there's seven of them for each chakra point. I believe this is depicting the seven seals or the seven chakra points that connect to the eye. See what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, who
Look
knows?
at the like just the expression on them and stuff. It's
Hmm.
wild.
Yeah, no, these green guys are just absolutely fun to take pictures of. You can get some crazy portraits, depending on the angle you shoot them at. It's crazy. Some real art there. It's, it's like
Just mastercraft
that's another
regardless.
one there that I've got upstairs. But yeah, definitely.
Like full expressions within them. And gold plating there on it.
Yeah. Even on the
Lots of gold
birthing, the
inlays.
one coming out of the canal here.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it's actually this one. It rocks naturally,
Wild. That is definitely the mom.
and none of the other ones out of over 130 pieces even sit slightly off level. I mean, these things are perfect. You can't budge these things. So that one was definitely made to rock that baby. Like it's pretty
Yeah,
nuts.
that's wild. And look at the inscriptions on it.
Yeah, it's very detailed with stuff.
So the green ones are from which site?
They're actually from the Michoacan area for the most part. I probably didn't pronounce that properly, but it's another state right next to Hidalgo, not too far from Tula. Maybe hour and a half or so, I think, roughly, you said. Um, but yeah, they are mostly found there. Now, the guys who are doing the documentary for Gen 6, they found two of these green statues in the Tula area. So likely they were either trading or it seems like where you go changes dramatically the style of art that's being displayed there or utilized there. Some of the pieces like that are close to the pyramid seem to have more ritualistic type sentiment, a lot of ankhs and pieces of odd um yeah. I just I didn't read that last comment, but I read the one there that was just talking about oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, no, this is, I agree with that 100%. Alien knowledge. Yeah, the coincidences are, I
Mathematically
mean,
impossible.
it's really, really improbable for sure. especially seeing this new Nazca mummy with the wings matching up with an Abuelos carving like that that's been out of the ground for 2 years. I mean, that to me was just the biggest shock today. When I woke up and saw that, I just, I mean, obviously I've been researching this stuff pretty heavy for 3 years. So for me to see something like that, it's really crazy to think that the things being depicted on these pieces are actually real entities or real beings that existed here in this planet, and now we have physical remains to prove it. Right? Yeah.
This is what you had sent me.
Yep.
Of
X-rays of the physical remains, all intact. Everything is proper. It has implants and eggs inside of it. And then there's yeah, it looks like a squid-faced, crazy looking being. It's definitely it though. The way the feet are. I saw the feet on this one and it was so different from the other Nazca mummies. I was like, what the heck is this? And then it has these weird bones coming out the back. And I
right,
couldn't figure it out at
middle one.
first. No
The
one,
middle
everyone
one, you
was
can
talking
really
in
see it.
in the Reddit forum. Everybody's like, what is that? And I thought, I thought they were like put together or something. Like it didn't look real at that point until all of a sudden I saw the x-rays and it hit me. Freaking yeah, I'm still kind of just blown away by it, honestly.
It's a lot to take in that Cthulhu might be real.
No, there's no might here. I mean, this is a physical being. Like they got the body. Like that's the hard part for me, man. Like I have to change my whole entire. I mean, I go with the science, not the scientist. All right. So when I
Yeah,
see the science in front of me, when there's a physical remains with X-rays and dozens of researchers reporting on it, I mean, that's
it's a
science,
little hard to deny.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. Alien knowledge, but in different ways. I think the races there in Nazca are the failed experiments of the Old Testament that it talks about that were flooded and washed away, most likely. And I think that what's interesting is they survived probably longer, or maybe reclused to that area. Um, and then it's if you look at the time frame, the carbon dates of when those things passed away, they're between 1 to 2,000 years old, which is iconic in my opinion because this stuff from Abuelos is around 10 to 20,000 years old, and that being the case is really more logical in terms of something that's pre-flood. But these Nazca mummies, obviously only being a couple thousand at max, that means that they lived basically until the Spanish Inquisition got there, or
And was
close
that
to.
what the Spanish Inquisition was actually about?
The
And
conquistadors did do some stuff for the church. They got paid by the church. I know this for
yep,
sure.
and
And
led by Jesuits, the secret order of the church, and the
correct.
military wing of the church.
Yep. Yep. So there's things there, and they said they did these things in the name of God, and that's why they did the baptisms and the spread of Christianity in this process of the Crusades and Inquisition. But uh, I mean, I think they were definitely after other things like giants and stuff,
I
and
was
people
about to
people
bring
in
up giants.
People in South America report giants, and in Mexico report giants all the time, and there's all these reports of it way back, and so it would definitely make sense in some degree if that was the case.
Oh, this is interesting. This one. Like this. And apparently this is an angelic alphabet,
Huh,
and I see a lot of these symbols put together and what you've got and stuff like this kind of
interesting. Hmm.
potentially on some of them.
Yeah, it's definitely. If you look up the alchemy and stuff, it's. I mean, there's different things, but if you take alchemy and
Like
Egyptian.
all of these I've seen on lots of
Yep,
yards.
yep, yeah. Those there you can see a lot. Like two of them are right there.
Oh, exactly. The sulfur and the mercury, 100%.
Yep.
Saturn and Mercury.
I actually got the Mercury symbol tattooed on my back when I was 18 years old.
Synchronicity. It was meant to
Isn't that
be.
crazy? I know. Like looking back now, I'm like, huh, that's real full circle stuff there.
It's meant to be.
Yeah, I was always attracted to it, and the fact that was like Thoth's symbol as well is interesting to see that type of stuff in this case.
See a few of these languages in your carvings.
Yeah, the one if you look up, it's called Proto Sinatic or Sinatic rather. That's the one where you'll really see a lot of similarities. That and the sigils and stuff like you were saying.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
these
those there
sigils.
look.
There's
Yeah,
definitely some of them on there.
definitely. Here, I'm gonna turn this light back on. Go back over here. I think I saw a couple of those maybe.
Like this one. I think we saw that one. I think we saw a few of these ones. Okay, and then those, what you're showing now is more along the line. Oh, yeah, a couple of those. Definitely.
A lot of similarities at the very minimum. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
And
and there's one sheet that I gotta find here
this
that.
one's really important here. You know where this was like the snake. They were like pushing the snake out.
Not geoglyphs.
Oh, interesting.
Different alchemy sigils.
Huh.
No. Oh, many of these main alchemy symbols we see, and then we see them in combinations as if written in sentences.
Yeah, or variations. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is what you would want to see, honestly, in terms of what we know about alchemy today and what they said that they knew about alchemy back then, if that's the case, right? Because there was
Oh, yeah.
masters of alchemy then, and it seemed like it was a much more viable practice at some point in our history.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. It's a lost higher science. I have no
and you
doubt
could call
about
it
it.
mythology, and they say a lot of that stuff, mythology. But man, there's sure a lot of supporting, like all these symbols, for instance. A perfect example: the sigils and the symbols of alchemy is not just a oh, we made this up for cosplay.
Right? It's the original and oldest, like, pictographic language still in use today. And
Yeah.
like was used throughout all of the different societies.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I can't wait till we can get some real mainstream research to get hundreds of carbon dates and lab tests to throw at this. Obviously, we're limited right now so much, but once we get that kind of data, I think we'll really understand the time frame of our origin and some of these ancient scripts that are wrote. Yeah, the Phoenician stuff, it's similar. The Egyptian, if you look at that proto-Semitic, that's the one that a lot of the Egyptian symbols stemmed from, like the basket there and um, the mouth, the feather.
Yeah,
And a lot of those are on here. You know, you can see like there's the basket there, or the mouth rather, and it's a female.
Combination
There's
of
the
several.
Lord symbol and the feather, and the bread.
Straight up Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Well, proto-Sinaitic, because all the symbols that I found, there's a lot of symbols in the Egyptian hieroglyph language, as well as how hieroglyphics are written, that does not meet with this at all. And so that's why I say it's more towards the proto-Sinaitic, because a lot of these symbols origin there that are in the Egyptian language, and it goes back further to Canaanite. And if you look at like a piece like this, or Canaanite, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Um,
Oh
you'll
yeah.
see a lot of proto-Sinaitic symbols here, in the language itself, including like the four, the double H, this symbol here, this seven. A lot of things that originated or that became in our language today, you can see traces of that here. You know.
Right, it's very similar to a lot of the Crespi collection golden tablet proto
Hmm.
languages as well.
Yep. Yeah, it's all relative. I mean, his was just a couple countries down. I mean, this whole area from Central America to Peru was covered with this civilization. I mean, the entire continent, I think, likely had things going on up through the Grand Canyon and probably into Utah, and maybe even all the way up to where you are up there in Canada. You know what I mean? Like you said,
Oh, absolutely.
there's traces up there that you've seen, and I think there's real probability that this whole land was like that. And then obviously younger dryas hit, some sort of ice age occurred, the glaciers, everything was pushed down and wiped out pretty much everything, you know.
Like these guys, the Aztec Mayan feather headdress, the Quetzalcoatl headdress guy, and of
Oh,
course
crazy. Yeah.
these guys, right? In Alberta, right next to me in Medicine Hat. I went out and explored them this summer, and
Wow. So
they
that
match.
guy, okay, you gotta hang on and keep everybody happy for a second. I'm gonna go upstairs and grab something, because keep that on there. I've got a piece from Mexico that matches that identically. I'll be right back.
Perfect. See, synchronicities meant to be. We got an Olmec guy from Mexico about to match. And like Mike was saying, this civilization spanned all of the Americas and most likely all of the world. Uh, and here's the entire valley of these guys in Medicine Hat. I will be going back there this summer to explore it further. And I will also be doing another episode specifically covering this topic and going in on Google Earth and showing that there's actually a second whole row of these geoglyph mega faces, one valley up north of where these ones are. So it's actually twice the size of the site and way, way more. Just amazing. And sure you can see, not sure if you can see my mouse, but that there is in the bottom right corner clearly another. So there's all of these different faces in this valley, Mike,
I'm
and then
back.
there's oh,
Look at
what
this.
so if you see what right, look at that,
Very similar, right?
very similar compared to that guy, but more this guy,
This one, yeah. Different headdress, but definitely
different
has the
headdress,
same vibe. And the face, the
100%.
face is right there.
All right, we got the Olmec in the top right corner of it, and then the warrior in the bottom right with that headdress.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So like that, but really there's a couple of faces up in there. And can see the long-nosed, elongated skull, white, lighter figure on the left side, and then the darker, what looks like a muay, like big browed, big nosed guy, darker one on the right half. These two faces there. And that there's about 20 or 30 of them in total at this site.
Dang.
So it's along the same scale of the Nazca lines and geoglyphs.
Yeah. Yeah, North America's covered in it for sure. And then you got things like Skinwalker and the native tribes and the magic and curses that they used to or have the knowledge of possession of. It's interesting for sure. It's a piece of
Oh,
jade. Yeah.
look at that.
You can see the green popping through.
Yeah. But yeah, totally showing the massive headdress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Crazy stuff. Yeah, it's amazing to see the relevance. I think we're going to see a lot more. Seeing what I saw today with that mummy and these winged beings. I think that's really just the tip of the iceberg. I
I
found out a lot of
swear
things.
we saw these two sigils on one of those carvings, and it says Astral Gateway.
Hmm.
Mind blown a little bit right there.
Interesting. Yeah.
Just random slides pulled off of Pinterest.
Yep. Yeah. The guys down there are going to because the government they've tried to get the government to come in and confirm where the Nazca mummies are coming from, and they've like wrote out to him 12 or 15 times. The guy was saying they've wrote letters, they've called, they've tried to call in favors to get someone out there to certify what they're finding, because they found over 40 bodies now. I mean, this isn't just a few. There's been over there's 4 different species, identified species now. Which is
That's
interesting
wild.
because these pieces from Mexico we see, for example, like a lot of different looking beings, obviously bird-headed beings, the bearded guys, the angelic winged beings that look like aliens. Some of them have the garment around their tentacles. Some of them don't have tentacles. Some of them have feet and legs. Others have claws and talons. Like this guy here. I'll show you another example, and
Just
this could
all
very well be.
sorts of hybrids that
This
you
is
could
probably the
possibly
Nazca
come
race
up with.
here too. Look at the feet here.
Oh,
So
wow.
this could very well be that same type of species.
And what was the size of that mummy? It was
Very
just a
small.
small one? Yeah, just
Yes.
small. Like,
Yep. Very small, which is interesting. I mean, I guess we really have no conceptual idea what size these beings are, necessarily. So they're only depictions of it.
yeah, and then it's like, are those carvings and depictions actually life size?
Mm-hmm.
And there we get the story where we would get the story of these fairies and little angels and stuff.
Fairies, yeah, that was the first thing that came to my mind, and the fairies and the mermaids, I think, are definitely explained here. You've got the fish tails here on these type of
And the
beings.
Naga and the angels as well.
Hmm. Yep, it goes hand in hand all the way through and through, and even if you look at Kronos in the Greek, Kronos is being pulled by a chariot with 2 serpents. And here you
Oh,
have the father, the right hand, Anki, the water god, and the all-seeing eye representing Ra, or the eye for Enlil. And I think these are the 2 serpents of Kronos, essentially. No radioactivity, but yes, definitely phosphorescence and luminescence both. Let me turn off the lights here again, and I'll show you. I'll get the other light. I've got this light I'm using is a UV Beast. It's a 365 nanometer V3. It's fairly bright. It's about 35 watts of LED. So
She's
um,
a beast.
it's not incredible or anything, but it definitely is a lot more than what you would find on a normal black light. So,
What is that blue rock crystal?
well, I believe it's topaz.
Oh
Certain things,
wow.
it seems like most of their specimen have
Oh,
uh,
what's the blue reflecting mass? That one right in the center.
this.
Uh, yeah, more.
That's the jade. It doesn't
Oh, it's
actually
just how the
glow.
jade looks. Gotcha.
Hmm. But yeah, the fluorite does the blue too,
Oh wow.
and the calcite will do red.
Calcite's red. What's yellow?
Yellow. I mean, that calcite can be lots of different colors. Actually, I mean, you can get red, yellow, orange, green, and that's why this here is likely like that. But here's the thing. Okay, go
Wild.
to a crystal gem show and tell them you want a piece of calcite that goes from green to red or red to green. Good luck. You're going to pay hundreds of dollars for a small little chunk of that just for a specimen grade. So to have an entire carving with that type of inclusion or that type of reaction rather is really uncommon. So these specimens weren't just quarried overnight. They weren't just, oh, we bought a big
Yeah.
old shipment of limestone. We're going to make a bunch of fakes. This is hand selected queried stone that is absolutely, rarities
Rare
in
and
most
unique and
cases.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
not
they're creme de la
common.
creme, like of specimen grade. Even something like this whistle, for instance. This is an interesting specimen because it's literally like two rocks conjoined together, and that's almost some
Right?
alchemy or something in itself because I'm not even
And
sure
it's
if that's like
actual
normal.
whistle, right? That one
Yeah, this will warp you to
or a
level
flute.
7 or 8 if you blow on it. So I'm just kidding. I was just seeing if you were listening, but I winged it. Whoosh.
Oh, that one
I,
went
I
over
said it
me.
was going to warp us, man. We're going to level 7 or 8.
Oh, I'm game. Warp our reality. Let's open the portal. It has such a like deep, like resonant tribal sound to it. It's
I recorded it into a sampler earlier today and sat there and played it on the keyboard um, as a sample. And man, you, you add a little reverb to that whistle, and I'm telling you, it sounds like you're in uh, like a Zen garden or something. It's very almost puts you to sleep type of sound.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's really fun to play with. I need to do this bigger whistle. Someone mentioned something on my TikTok here this week that was pretty good idea. They asked if I'd ever had any CT scans done of the inside of the whistles or the pipes to see what kind of, you know, how it was drilled out, essentially. And
Yeah.
yeah, I've never done that, and I thought it was an awesome idea. So that's one of the next things that we're going to try to do. We've gotten radiology and X-rays of some of these mosaic pieces. I'll show you, like these over here. And what's crazy is they found gold like laced inside of them, like underneath the mosaic. You can
What?
see it in
Really?
there. Yeah, yep. In like
Like
in
that the
numerous
eyes that
pieces. These are gold, and a lot of
that
times they have rhodium in these inlays as well from Awelos. I just checked quite a few different pieces the other day and found rhodium in an Awelos piece now too. So we're finding completely unrefined rare earth elements that are worth 4,000 plus dollars an ounce in these pieces, which is interesting.
where it's just not economically feasible that the prices that you got it or that they sold it
They,
for
they
that
they definitely took a loss if they paid for it to put it in there. I'll tell you that much. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like they're not just giving the stuff away. In a sense, they are because of what kind of craftsmanship. There's no possible way they could replace it or remake it for that price in many of the cases, and that's the reality of the situation. Even just something like this, this piece of basalt here, this statue, it's not just something that you can easily get a hold of. I actually had an artisan that we tried to get a basalt statue made just so we could compare the grooves and how he carved it because it's such a hard stone. But it didn't happen. If you look here, like on the chin, I'm gonna put this light on here. You see that red?
yeah, oh yeah.
So the Mayan actually painted this piece. So this piece was out of the ground during the Mayan time, likely because they're the ones that went through and painted a lot of these Toltec statues that were there from before they got there. They
Previous
painted them.
civilization.
Hmm. Yeah, because they weren't the ones that built that. They said it was a Toltec capital, and they just settled there. And so a lot of the pottery and a lot of the excavations that they do, like the Cambridge excavations and a couple others, universities that went in there, they don't go down that deep. They did the mapping, and it's down to the 12-foot level only. The cave that we found is at the 14 to 15-foot dig level. So they didn't even get to that point where they would have got to the bedrock. And I think that's why they only mapped it down 12 feet because they knew if you go any deeper than that, you're going to find things that they can't take back.
The undeniable evidence.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a good way to put it for sure. Definitely starting to see some things pop out that's fairly undeniable lately for sure.
Right? And good on, like, it's amazing how, oh, the Peruvian government tries to write off the last mummies as fake, and boom, here's
Actually,
another mummy of a
actually, that's
different
not
species.
true. That's not true. The Peruvian government came out in December on the 7th, and they said that it was real. They had 12 of their high scientists sign off on it. I've got a video on our feed stating that Peru confirmed that these were authentic biological specimens. I was so tickled. I had a little celebration. I took my wife out for dinner. I was so happy to hear that the world had come to grips that these things were real. I had already known for many years that these were real, but it's hard to convince your friends and family that you're not a crazy idiot. When you're sitting there telling them things that the news is saying, no, that's BS. It's all made up. Your friends and family start to lose faith in you, and it's sad when there's concrete evidence and the people on TV have nothing. There's no evidence against these things. There's one piece of evidence that they said from Flavio. What is his last name? Flavio. There's a scientist there, and he he actually is on record now, and there's a lawsuit against him because he lied on public record and said that he doctored those samples and made false claims with the glue.
Really?
Yes, that's on record.
All right, then. We're gonna
So
have to do a full video on that.
yeah, man, I think there's a lot more stuff coming too. There's a whole group of people down there that are just, I mean, a lot of stuff's under NDA and it can't be talked about right now. So I have to be careful with my words because I've been,
Fair
like
enough.
not I haven't had to sign an NDA, but the guy who told me a lot of this stuff is trusting me to not get him thrown under the bus. So
Yeah.
but there's a whole entire thing that's going to be coming out. Dr. Miko Kaku, the I
Jeff,
can't think of what type of scientist he is off the top of
a
my head.
physicist, I believe.
Yeah, some sort of physicist, astrophysicist, maybe he is. Anyways, he went down there with Jaime Mossam, the guy that came out in the in the Congress of Mexico regarding these Nazca mummies. He um, is doing his own independent DNA testing on these pieces now himself. So I thought that was pretty awesome. He went down to Mexico personally to do this, and so we
That's
should see some information there. And they were the ones they made sure that they were proper specimens. It wasn't something because, the one that Flavio said that was doctored and stuff, that wasn't actually one from the guys or from Jaime. They didn't have anything. They never talked to Jaime Mausam. The government has never had anything to do with them. So all those reports and all those things were done completely without their understanding or knowing. So. Yeah, I'll give you a background here real quick, Sherry. It's this stuff's from Mexico, two different places. Tula Hidalgo, like this piece here, this type of stuff, all from Tula Hidalgo. And then there's also stuff coming out of Abuelos de Jalisco, and they're both two cities in Mexico. 6-8 hours away if you were to drive. One of them there is
is
really famous. It's
Tula
got
kind of close to the what the heck, the East Coast there on the Baja Coast or whatever?
No, so Tula Hidalgo, which is where the pyramid that has the Atlantean statues that look like this, they're sitting on top of this flat top pyramid. That's Tula Hidalgo, and all of these pieces, for the most part, have come within 1 square mile of that pyramid. I would say 85% of the pieces from Tula in this room, and Abuelos de Jalisco is way inland. Jalisco is kind of like it's very deserty and not highly populated. And there's a mountain range there outside of a city, Abuelos, and that city has about 2,000 people or so. And there's the Hill of the Bull, Sierra del Toro, and uh, and that's where these pieces are being found, and or in the foothills nearby. But you can see this bowl is from there, and it's got the winged bull on here, which was really iconic in Egypt
The
as
yeah,
well
Sumeria and
as Sumeria.
Babylon.
Sumeria had these weird bulls here that had wings, right?
Oh wow.
And these are depicted. Some of these are 20 and 30 foot tall that are in the British Museum and the Iraqi Museum. What's interesting is they've got the head of a man in most cases. Well, in some of them, they have the garment on the beard like they have tentacles. And so I got thinking, because of the close relation to a cow, could it be that it's
Oh
lightweight and has different properties, but is similar to a cow because it might have been a tentacle faced cow or something? I don't know if that's the case, but
wild.
it's a theory, right?
Well, someone was playing God and like creation and mixing and matching all these different species back then, it seems, and
Well, yeah. And that's
that's
if you read the Old Testament or in the Sumerian tablets, it's clear as day that that's what went down. They get detailed about it, And, you see pieces like this.
I don't have the DNA in it. Showing the DNA strand in the bottom right there.
Yeah, in the bottom, down there, the guy's head is not even attached to
Oh
the
yeah,
body.
look at that. Wow. Didn't even see that. That's wild.
Yeah, DNA strand here, and yeah, it's interesting.
It's just wild. And that both sides are completely carved telling these stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you see here,
What?
you've got these angelic type beings that are associating with these UFOs. This is a really common symbol in Egypt. Your buddy Hans there had told us about where, depending on the number of rays and which way it's pointing and stuff will determine the, you know, daytime or nighttime, stuff like
Yeah,
that. But it
the
was, yeah,
5 ages of the sun or whatever.
yeah.
It
He went
depicts.
off on it for a minute. There's a lot to it. Basically, is a better way to say it because I'm probably far off, but
Yeah, no, we'll have to discuss it more with them in the next one.
yeah, no, I did a bunch of research after that, so I've got questions now for sure.
Hans is just a treasure trove of ancient knowledge and wisdom. And my Sherry and Nolly, to answer your question, yes. And Mike, do you have the EM field reader thingy by you by chance?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yep.
Mind showing off some of the energies in them?
You know, and this is interesting because the different stones obviously have a different, you know, lattice structure and hardness. So it's interesting to see how they react differently number wise.
And that they are all
Yeah,
giving
they
off
all
decent
have
amount.
something going on.
Be interesting to then just compare the amount of energy coming off of them to random pieces of stone of the same type of minerals.
Yeah, yep. We got. I mean, I really don't have any clue what that means scientifically in terms of if it means anything. It could be the power in my walls somehow charging up the crystals, causing that to happen, right? Like I don't know. Unless we have a Faraday cage, we're not gonna know probably. And that's what I found out from a scientist. He said that's really the only way to be sure. You know, he's like, you could take it outside, you could do all these things, but it's
We
not going to
do
tell you for
have
sure
that.
unless you have removed everything. So I like that, and he said he can build me one really cheap. So I probably am going to take him up on it here this summer and drive over there and yeah,
Or you
he's
can
going to do a
ship.
bunch of experiments for us. So.
Very nice. There's also Mark Sokol at Falcon Space that has a lab out in New Jersey that we do a lot of work with through APEC that has such Faraday cages that would be able to run
Oh,
some tests for you with it.
huh.
So I will link you up with him in the future too.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That has to be the alien language from the beginning.
Yep, this could very well be something that utilizes no voice at all. This could be something that's on a whole nother level of intelligence to be able to read and understand. I mean, if you look at Chinese and Mandarin stuff like that, it's you really got to know before you can read it. So it might not be too much different. The difference is there's over 10,000 symbols that have been documented, so it gets a little
It's the job for the AI
tedious, I
to do.
guess.
Oh
You see like
wow.
a jet engine on the back or
Right?
whatever
The
it is,
rocket or something, yeah.
carrying around his buddy. And it essentially is
That's
this.
very similar to one of the depictions in the original Nassim Klaus Donna
Yeah.
artifacts.
Yeah, this was one of the very first pieces I got from
Wow.
a Waylos here.
That's so
See how
cool.
he just sits back and chills, though, like.
Right? Like
Yeah,
little homie chilling. Intergalactic ride, sled ride.
it's kind of a crazy symbol.
Very unique. Gotta
Yeah,
have.
I've never seen anything like that.
Maybe it's his name.
Could be. I don't know.
Probably not.
Yeah, you never know. That's
Never know.
reality, I guess.
Till someone cracks the code.
Yeah. Who's going to be the first is probably going to be like I mean, once people realize that it's legitimate and that there's real important information here, possibly it's it's definitely going to fuel some sort of race, you know.
I agree. It could most likely is telling a portion of our origin story and lost history.
From the stuff that I've translated so far, it seems like a lot of prayer and a lot of worship to God, or to whoever they worshipped, whether it'd be a god or whatever it was. But it seems like they have a definitive, because the in Egypt, a lot of those symbols that they utilize repetitively are Lord and God. So it's interesting. Seeing the Saturn symbol too is also interesting, because in Greek, Saturn was such an iconic symbol for Kronos and the story of Zeus, and that's his father, so.
And if they're
and
still here, are they also from there?
and who Zeus is, and Jesus, the word Jesus, if you translate it, I forget into which language, but it's hail Zeus essentially. And so when you have this energy of Michael, or
Hail
Anki,
Zeus, yeah.
it could very well be that that is Zeus, or that Enlil is Zeus, and this is where some of the confusion gets into play. Yeah, the Chris Bledsoe comment really resonates hard with me. I would love to sit down with that guy and have a 2 hour powwow. You should get him on there, man. Reach out to Chris Bledsoe. If you know that guy, please, tell him to come talk with us,
Okay,
because
I
his
will work
story
on
is probably the most resonant UFO story I've ever heard. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's
I don't think I am actually.
yeah, I'll send you some links after we get done. It's really critical, I think, for sure.
Straight cone head right there.
Yeah, a lot of detail too, to put all those
Right?
cracks in there like that,
Like that's
just for
not
a
a
piece that
crack, that's
goes.
carved.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But they do that on a lot of things, like um this turtle here, the shell is completely decorated like that too.
Right? Wow. Inside and out. Look at the language on that.
Hmm. All honeycombed out. It's crazy. A lot of effort for a turtle, a pipe turtle. It only goes on one way. One of the guys that sit in there is slightly taller, so that's how they make everything. It fits one way only, like this piece here. If I put it in here, it's nowhere near the stability.
Just wild.
Let's see here again on the eye, if I can get the light right. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, the
The
red.
red, that's what you should see in almost all these pieces that I feel are genuine. It has that for the glue. Now there are a few that I have to question that you know. Let's see if I can find one by example here. Now this one's got the red too. There are pieces that I've seen that don't have it. So those are the next ones to get tested. I think this is probably a good example here. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not. No, no.
No, I can see the black on it as opposed to the red.
Yeah, so that one there, but it has the red up here.
Oh, oh
So
yeah, yeah,
so it's
yeah.
got both, and that's,
Huh.
but compared to maybe this, well, I don't know. Again, this is where we're at with testing. You can sit there and speculate all day long of real or fake, but the really only way to know is just to get in
Real
there and figure
science.
it out.
Absolutely. That's why I commend you and keep having you back, is because you're striving to find out and open and willing to get it all tested and trying to and getting it on.
Every day we'll figure out something. It seems like so. It's been a definitely been keeping me busy and what's crazy is I've got my editor writing our book right or reading and doing the editing in our book and um I read back through some of the chapters to send her, and man, I had to go back through so much of it because it had changed since I'd wrote it already. And I mean, it's just nuts how much we've learned in just the 3 or 4 months that I've been working on this book. So I imagine after I'm completely done writing it, I'll have to go back through and make one
Well,
final revision.
and just write a second and a third as you keep
Yeah,
on making
sure.
more discoveries, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's just it's just an evolving theory, I guess. There's a lot to consider. Hey, thanks. Be happy. It's a good name.
Right? Be happy. There is
Yeah, you
absolutely
can't go
nothing
wrong with
wrong with
that.
that.
Let's see if
And
I can
like,
pick this thing out. This is like one of my favorite statues. I don't take it out of there very often, but I'll set it here. It's got a
and
functional
it's a
whistle on
suit,
here.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's holding this bag. And it's interesting because this bag here is not the typical
Handbag. It's
handbag that we
longer.
normally see. It does, however, have DNA on there. And it's got the angel back here holding or doing something with it. So it's kind of interesting.
Very much so.
His head shape's quite
Oh yeah.
not normal either, almost like the Nazca mummy head shape if you look at it.
Super elongated.
So likely there was thousands of failed experiments and that's what provoked the flood. In the Bible is was a lot of this misuse of life and making these monstrosities and stuff that had to be removed and purged. So you got to wonder if that's why there's just it seems like almost every carving has a different being in some cases. The angels stay fairly similar, but the beings that they're with are changing rapidly, I guess is the point I'm trying to make.
And it fits along with the Genesis out of the Old Testament.
Hmm. Yep, and there's no humans depicted in this time either. And usually in Egypt, Isis is holding Horus. In this case, it's not. You know.
Going on. What makes you think that's not Horus?
Oh, welcome,
Well,
champ.
I mean, I guess it could be, but in compared to the Horus in Egypt at the Grand Museum, he looks a lot different.
Yeah,
This
we're a
has
lot
more of
more.
the almond eyes and the different shaped head. Can't really make out. It looks like 3 fingers, but it's hard to say for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, I always
And the
try to pay
6
attention to the
finger?
fingers because it varies heavily. Some of them are
Or
5, 3, no 4s.
no sixes? Any sixes?
I
Oh, I guess
haven't
the comma
seen any
missing the six.
6s. There is one shell that I have, a seashell, and it's got a being that has 2 sets of arms, so 4 arms total.
Interesting. Very like
Experimental.
but also like the deities and gods of the Orient.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and a lot of the three-faced things in that respect as well that you see. I can show you an example here. The Godhead or the tri-headed.
Going on, Sherry. Chris, take a little trip.
Oh yeah.
What's the reasoning behind all the various figures being represented? Is there any type of thing? Because why would they have gods that are the same, that are supposed to be the same types of gods throughout various cultures, why would they all be depicted in the same location?
Well, these gods, you know, if you go to the Greek, you can see in the golden age, the gods used to walk with man, and likely the gods, you know, the sons of God that it talks about in Genesis 6, if these were the angels and they didn't have bodies, you know, these were the serpent angels, you know, in the Assyrians, all those reptilian looking statues, some of them with babies and stuff, but they're absolutely like humanoid reptilian statues that come out of there. I think that it evolved from that, essentially from these beings. If you look here, you'll see the evolution from angel to walking angel, and you'll see this in Sumeria as well with the Anunnaki. You'll see some of the bearded guys with wings standing right next to another bearded guy without wings. And so, you know, the people said that, you know, the ones with wings are the Anunnaki, and the ones without the wings are the kings that they use to rule. And so, using that concept, you know, beings like Thoth and Marduk, these were the sons of Enki and Enlil, right? But these beings, Enki and Enlil, I don't think they had biological sex like humans do. And so, when they created beings or sons, they were creating them in a way that we don't recognize as a way of reproduction currently. So, I think that's why we see these gods being depicted in so many forms, because before Adam and before Jesus came, things were like a wild race on this planet. And that's what the flood and Jesus planting the Church of Transfiguration basically talks about in the Bible. He planted that there. And then in the Pistis Sophia, it goes into detail about how he went and took their 1/3 of the fallen's power so they couldn't have success like they did in the beginning. And so likely that's all relevant here, you know, before that they were running amok here on earth. And that Church of Transfiguration essentially put the barricade and changed from the Old Testament to the New Testament, and new rules seem to come into play immediately after that, or therefore, in terms of, you know, and if you read the Bible and or those ancient texts of that kind, even in Egypt, the transfer from the Old Kingdom to the New Kingdom, and the amount of drama that seems to take place there with Akhenaten and King Tut, and the way that they are represented, it's definitely odd. If you look at those two pharaohs as well with their beards, those beards that they wore as pharaohs were like this here. You know, they had a very odd beard. Even the 15-year-old King Tut had this death mask beard that looked like it was strapped onto his head. Well, they took that from Kemet, and they said that that's what their creators, that they did that to look more like their creators because they were the living gods. And these creators you can see here, it looks like similar beards, braided or garmented. And these beings, there's depictions of them, and they've got a squid looking thing coming out of their face. And that was likely attempted to be breeded out, but it was something that maybe they were vain with because the coverings and the stuff. So I believe that's where the Egyptians got that beard thing from. And if you look at here, you know, the Anunnaki are said to have come out of the sea. Also, the Dogon people who were, you know, exiled from Egypt, they also believe that the Nomo came out of the sea, and they have depictions of what looks like a guy in a fish suit, similar to Dagon. And so I believe, you know, you can see here he's got the same pharaoh-like beard,
Yeah.
same elongated head like Akhenaten, same almond eyes like Akhenaten, but yet he's a mermaid, you know. So these gods and stuff could have had many different shapes and roles, and even in the Bible, it states specifically the Lord has many names, and so they probably had ways to splice themselves into many different forms and beings before Adam ruled or reigned supreme on this planet. I always wondered why we were a dominant apex predator on this planet. It seemed like there was such balance and stuff, but how we ended up the apex was really, it didn't seem right, you know, other than just the intelligence alone. But our weakness and fragility seemed like it wouldn't have gotten us here without some of the technology that we've got now, you know.
Yeah, like we're reaching that Tower of Babel moment again, and it would tie into the ancient legends of pre-cataclysm and the giants, the demigods, and the splicing of humanoids with animals.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's interesting because I guess what I'm trying to say with the question was that there seems to be multiple depictions of the same gods within this collection, just
Mm-hmm.
in various forms. So, based on what you just said, that would mean that these artifacts would have to come from different times when their forms would change, right? Or because the question's more like why would there be three different depictions of the same goddess with
Well,
three
you
different
could
forms?
say the same. You could say the same about Horus and Osiris in Egypt. They're both depicted on the walls of the same place, but they are depicting their history, right? And so the people who made these artifacts, or the beings that made these artifacts, may have been actually representing their history or different versions of history that they were told or taught on these pieces. And that might be why we see that. You know, who knows what they were coaxed into believing, if the story's true, and they were being told of a false god and they were worshiping their god with stone idols, which is what it says in the Bible. I think that they could have been utilizing different stories that they were told about their gods to literally, you know, show worship. And that's why a lot of these pieces are either at the pyramid or at the Hill of the Bull, both places of, you know, sacred energy, or of sacred um, place to the gods, I guess. Yeah.
What fascinates me so much is the legends of like these monsters and gods being both swept away by the flood under the ocean, as well as like lots of them being locked away under mountains and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And that then we have all these stories and legends and reports of these UFOs and USOs underwater and into volcanoes and mountains and stuff. And people saying that they're still here. Could they still be just underneath us?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reports about volcanoes and things coming in and out of the sea. There's even some videos, if I recall, of UAPs that the military had recorded, you know, shooting into the ocean at like a ridiculous breakneck speed. And so that's a real probability that, you know, that
Yeah, I
these
believe
beings
there's
are
a couple
using.
of them.
If you look at this, you know, it shows these beings conducting the UFOs. So it's very possible that, you know, they could be still doing the same. You know, if they don't have bodies, if they're light beings with no bodies, they might not even be in this dimension. They might be banished to a whole different dimension altogether. But they still could be using manipulation, as well as things like UFOs with grays that were, you know, created as intelligence or some sort of being. Obviously, you know, like the Nazca mummies and these different versions of these, you know, species. If you look at the story of the Ajiji in the Anunnaki, it's kind of similar. You know, they created this species, and then it eventually went against them. And so it's really you know, could this just be like the fifth generation of Gigi, you know, the iPhone 4S of a Gigi, and that's what the Greys are today, flying around in these UFOs? I mean, that's kind of my theory at this point, based on what I've seen on these pieces.
Could be, right? Like lots of ancient legends were in the fifth age, so generation five, where the people and then the gods or demigods also,
Mhm.
or angels and demons, got an upgrade too.
Yep. A lot of coincidences involved at the very minimum.
I was muted, wasn't I?
Yep.
Your black mirror. We need to get you to hold it up to the sun and record a video through it, because
I plan on doing that actually. We haven't had sun for months. Like, it's been snow and rain and overcast so much that, I mean, I think we've had little bleeps, but I just haven't been there yet. So it'll happen. I promise. I don't usually mess around too much with the experimental value in these pieces, but uh, holding it up to the sun seems pretty awesome. So I'll definitely try it out.
and then maybe reflecting the sunlight off of, using that onto some of the crystals or the
Checking the EMF and other things of that nature. See if it will change how it does the phosphorescence, or if it might activate them in the daylight. I mean, there's lots of variable things that who knows, you know.
because it's like, if these are actual demigod artifacts and they're all, lots of them depicting portals and stuff like that, I just have a feeling you might activate one of them.
Yeah, but is that a good thing or a bad thing? That's why I'm neglecting to do it, because I mean, here's the thing: if we
Use
activate
good
something of
intent.
ancient technology, it's kind of like the whole, you're inside the Temple Mount is the old kingdom, and outside is the new. Well, I don't think that this is old kingdom stuff, and so this could definitely cause problems if it was utilized today, for sure. I think a lot of these things were taken away to give us the most hope possible in survival, likely, because it sure seems like everything happens for a reason, and even our shortcomings seem to be very um, purposeful.
Well, when we do finally get you to activate one, it will be with positive good intent, and it will be live on camera, live stream, so that, at least it'll be live disclosure, and there'll be
Yep.
that positivity of it, of boom, we got an open
It's gonna
portal.
go something like this. All right, guys. If the rapture happens, contact BurnEye, aka DJ Bernie Slanders, and now
And we might have
that
a
might
hope.
be that you might go down in history after all as something you never imagined. So.
Oh,
I
just
guess that would kind of depict you as what would that put your title if you were the bringer of the? No, I'm just joking. I won't
no.
call you the Antichrist. No.
Jeez, no, that's Luke. Ancient History was in the live chat earlier, or I guess he calls
Really?
himself Lucifer. Lucifer.
Oh,
I don't
okay. I was like,
like.
Luke. Who the heck are you talking about? Luke in the
No,
Bible? All right. Yeah,
no,
that makes
no,
sense.
antichrists as far as I know.
Yeah. Well, everything is supposed to happen as it will. If the Bible says that's the way, and if it's not muddled in that part, then it'll happen. And who knows? It could be complete bullcrap too. You know.
Or maybe you might channel the next Messiah and Savior, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all
I
about
mean,
intent.
you just got to go with your gut in this sort of stuff, and I think that's the best part.
Just can't get over the glow of these pieces. It's so wild. Like, the stone is so rare.
Well, no, that's not completely
Huh?
true. It's not like this green banded calcite's actually fairly common, but getting it into a really good specimen, you can see how it lights up the entire thing. Like, this is not the best specimen that I found. Some of them, like, they light up like a, I mean, it's crazy. So there's definitely different grades of it, and I found that that's the thing. We actually found a false piece that was made similar out of a green banded calcite, but man, oh man, it looked so haggard. It was that was why we tested it, because it didn't fit the type of carving. Nothing was right about it, but definitely this type of material is still available, I guess is my point. You know. Just not in this grade very commonly in the really like you can see on this one how saturated and green it is. That's really uncommon. A lot of it's darker. A lot of it's even like this where it's more agatized or there's not a lot
Yeah.
of green at all. You know, I mean this guy's probably close to 3 feet tall or so. Oops, sorry. I was trying to get him all in frame.
Wild.
But I mean that thing weighs like 130, 140 pounds.
Gotta get the gold tested.
Oh yeah, we have. Yeah, tested all the gold actually, pretty much, other than just a couple pieces. What's
Like,
interesting with the gold is every spot, like this spot here, tested 13 karat, and this spot here 8 karat, and this one over here had silver, zinc, and copper as well. But this one was just pure gold, and it's really, I shouldn't say pure gold, but no other elements other than gold.
really?
7 or 8 karat. Some of them are low karat. I mean, none of it's refined, I guess, is the point we learned from testing hundreds of different spots of leaf and solid.
That's interesting. I can't help but wonder if the what's the word where it's a mixture of it. Anyways, is intentional to have zinc, silver, and gold alloy. There we go. In it.
Those are normal things to find in there. I mean, you'll find it, but it's not something that you would find in gold that you bought off of the internet or something. Like if you go buy gold leafing at the store today or from one of the craft companies or something like that that sells gold leafing, you're not going to find 8 karat or 12 karat gold leaf, and it's all going to be 24 karat pure because they don't sell it like that.
Good points.
Is there any effort to kind of like put these into a museum or anything, or does
Yeah.
anyone care? Or like what's going on with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. What I've started the process, we met with an attorney last week, a trust attorney. We wanted to create a trust, which will then be in charge of putting together a nonprofit organization that will house these pieces and pursue the research. However, there's issues regarding the security of the pieces as well as, if we do declare them to be real, what that means for the pieces and where they're going to go and who's going to take them, et cetera, right? Because of the complex situation that obviously taking relics out of a country is illegal. However, when the government says that it's legal and okay, and then they change their mind later, what does that mean for the pieces and what does that mean for the people that have them? And so I honestly, I mean, I'm not sitting here trying to steal from nobody, and that's why we want to create this nonprofit and a trust, so that way what's right for the project is what will happen. And so essentially what we're doing now is putting together a project that will decentralize science altogether, for not just this, but for other topics of interest, things in the UAP and
So
astrophysics.
to be
A
clear,
place for scientists and researchers and credible people to go to be able to trade information and put information onto the blockchain or something like it that will be decentralized and keep that information out of any country's hands whatsoever. And it'll allow the people who are staked into the project to make the votes and create the guidelines and the rules going forward to where it's a self-managed project, and no one can be corruptive in there anymore, because that's really the biggest problem that we found is getting the testing and getting the science done is no one wants to do it because they're scared, and they're scared that they're going to lose their funding. They're scared that they're going to lose their career, that they're going to get blackmailed or black labeled. They're going to get Russell branded and told that they're sexual predators or liars or whatever, just to get canceled, to get them off the air so we can continue with our narrative. And that seems to be the case and the biggest preventative that we've come across. And so that's our hope, is to bypass that altogether and decentralize science. And that's obviously a ridiculous goal with a really big mindset, but
I
um,
like it.
these pieces are the best use case for something like this that I found that could be actually put through. Because right now, if you were to go and say, I want to go dig in China and start doing decentralized science, they would arrest you because you're not allowed to dig in China or America, unless you're an archaeologist with proper permits and proper everything, right? So these pieces, because you don't need permits and they're all illegally obtained, but yet legally obtained, they fall into that weird category that would allow this type of a concept to function. So it's our hopes.
So you're able to basically you're able to sell them right now because they're not considered relics.
Exactly. Yep. I went to customs and they gave me a 6-page report that I put on my website that says anything depicting aliens, UFOs, or that type of spaceship theme is absolutely not part of Mexican culture of any part that they've ever researched, seen, or highlighted, and therefore it has to be modern. They don't need to test it. If customs finds it, DHL finds it, whoever finds it, and they see those things on there, they will immediately just pass it off without question, and that's just the way it is. And so I really was sick when I found out that this stuff might be real and that was happening. And so I started trying to prove it, thinking, maybe the media just doesn't know about it. Maybe it just needs to be brought to the right people. I reached out to the Ancient Aliens crew. I ended up working with Linda Moulton Howe for a while. I've worked with Scott Waltar pretty extensively. He's been absolutely a tremendous help in this process, just understanding what I'm seeing. And, he's obviously a forensic geologist and has put a lot of time on this, and so yeah, I mean, it's really it's the first thing like this that I've ever come across, or that I've ever talked to anyone that could give advice on what we should do here. It's a really weird situation, um, if it's real.
And that's the question.
So what makes you doubt if it's real?
Well, I doubted all of it when I came on. I was confident that it was fake and I was going to be able to disprove it. I mean, it just didn't add up that the news and that the people didn't have anything on it. It took me years to finally get to a place in my mind where I could accept the fact that, yeah, I've got definitive effort and proof here showing on 40 different levels that there's a really great chance that this is legitimate. But it was the Nazca mummies that really said it for sure for me. I mean, when I seen the government come out in January saying that they were all fake again, after all the research and all the stuff that's been shown, I knew for a fact that they were covering it up. I knew absolutely with no question that they are doing an active cover up on this topic. I knew it with the weather balloons that they shot with $800,000 missiles that they flew F-22s alongside to make sure they were unmanned before firing open missiles and shooting down and then what they said was a $20 weather balloon. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. There's and this has been going on. I mean, you've got all the what do they call that? The Freedom of Information Act disclosures that have come out here over the last couple decades that show all these Project Blue Books and Majestic 12s and stuff, all to be real and functioning entities of the government. They did all this research on Skinwalker Ranch. They refused to give any of the research, yet there's a very, very profitable, successful TV show redoing a bunch of testing on this land that was already researched by the government heavily. Why are we wasting our time and all these people caught up in this when this is 1970s research that we're looking at, so they're obviously just trying to string people along. It's the Oak Island theory. They're never going to find any treasure because the treasure was dug up a long time ago. They're just using the story and making a TV show about it. I mean, I know this for fact. There's evidence on this in a new book that's coming out, I believe, in the next couple months by Scott Woltar. So, I mean,
Right.
it's just, yeah.
So there's a lot of people all of a sudden being like, oh, it's all fake. Just go onto Etsy and type in alien carvings and it's all there. And it's like, I just did that, but I'm just seeing the exact same couple over and over again. They're nothing like Mike's, and none of them have any of the pictographs or anything of the sorts. If you think this is the same as what Mike is showing us, come on, get real.
Yeah.
Like
Type in hand.
the exact
Type in hand
same.
carve.
Oh,
Try
okay.
typing in
Hand carve.
carve. Let's see what it comes
Yeah,
up.
there you go. Let's see what we got.
carved.
Probably gonna be the same results based on that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for someone just to be like, yeah, I got proof here. Here you go. It was all fake. I mean, I could sell all these pieces as modern art. I get some of my money back. I mean, I'm sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars of money sitting here locked up from my company and from my own use, just to try to do this. So why? People ask me for a lot of these pieces for sale. No, I don't sell a lot of these pieces. I have some. I buy some pieces specifically to resell because people constantly ask me when I'm doing podcasts like this, where can I get one? I want to own a piece of this, blah, blah, blah. At what point, so you kind of almost have to. Plus the amount of people I've met selling these pieces, I've met other collectors and people who have the same passion I do. And for those reasons, we've become a very strong team. And, when it's $1,800 per lab test, it's great to have a team.
This is the closest I can find of Uperlite carved, and still nothing close
How
to
much is
what.
that? $20?
They're
Yeah.
$15 and they're 2.25 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if
So that's
it's
like,
nothing like what
one
was shown.
64th of one of these, size wise, anyways.
If anyone has a different link showing something else, please post it. I will happily take a look. But so far, not convinced.
Oh, there's a little mummy. That's cool. I was wondering when someone would have
Where
the.
that's clearly plaster.
Oh yeah, still cool.
So,
Yeah, I've been told that a lot. Wish.com and Etsy.com has this stuff. I've never seen anything. I've seen there was one seller on Etsy that I found that was selling pieces that were replicas. They were resin. It claimed right in the listing that they were resin replicas from Abuelos de Jalisco. But they were, of similar look to the Abuelos pieces. So there could be some confusion there. I mean,
Yeah,
benefit of the
I think
doubt. But it
I
was
think I
like
found what
two
you're talking
molds
about.
and that was it. There wasn't anything from Tula or extensive stuff on there by any means.
Yeah, I think I found what you're talking about.
Problem when you do that too is they have to be painted, and so they're just like pure white usually with like a little black outline here or there. There's no extensive detail or stone look. A lot of people claim, oh, those have got to be 3D printed or those aren't. Those are plaster or something. And we've had the stone test done. Like this is all limestone, extremely heavy. I can't even. Yeah, very heavy. Shook the whole table.
and I really want to go see the cave. I'm gonna have to edit some or get some clips for our next time together showing the actual cave in Tula that lots of them came out of.
Yeah, well, I'll get you a Dropbox so you can have like some stuff to show. Also too, if you go to our TikTok at Alien Carvings, we've got thousands of videos. I've been documenting this for 3 years, and I post everything that I feel is legitimate or imperative. It goes there, including much of the dig videos, and so if you're curious about that sort of stuff, definitely look there. You'll find a lot of answers to questions for sure. Because there's nothing like seeing it come out of a 15-foot hole that's in the ancient bedrock, and the carvings on the walls are the same beings, and even with the squid face, there's even a carving of the squid face there on the cave wall, which I felt was really important to see. You see it like this in the sarcophaguses as well with the beard. Yep, those are them, Shem. I just saw your link.
Yeah, so
So one of these ones or the
No. Oh, that's
no,
interesting.
no. If you bring up my screen, Bernie.
oh sorry.
Yep, that's the guy. Yep.
Type of stuff right here. Don't you have one that looks exactly like this one?
I've got very similar for sure. And what's crazy is the real ones, in many cases, are less expensive than that. Like that's why I don't make replicas usually. Like people have asked me for resin replicas, and I'm like, just buy a real one. You know, like they're not. I mean, they're not the same price, but they're definitely not that much more at this point in time.
Really shiny. Probably crispy.
That definitely looks like a Crespi collection reprint.
Yeah,
So where they have people just
that's
making
cool.
casts of what's already been found.
Yeah. Yeah, and I imagine we'll probably do certain things with. I mean, because I've 3D scanned a lot of these, and I mean, I think that's kind of cool. Like to be able to have that kind of stuff. I mean, definitely not a bad thing considering what it is and what it's showing, and you know how much I've learned from it, studying it and looking at it just by sitting here. Like the stuff I was showing you today with the Nibiru symbol. Like, I mean, you know, if we put these in front of a lot of people, I think it's going to help us understand this language and understand their meaning just by being connected to the art. You know. This piece is pretty similar looking to that one.
Yeah.
A little different, but same concept. Oops.
Yeah, see, these are being sold as replicas.
Well, aren't you? You're in Mexico right now, aren't you? So
No,
Nope.
where are
Nope.
you?
I've never even been to Mexico.
You're in the United States.
Yep, I'm up in Washington.
So here you can see a very similar one, but it says replica on it, artifact replica. So what I think you're going to have to now do, Mike, is order a couple of these fake replicas just to show people the difference between the original artifact
Wait,
and a replica.
bring up that other little guy one more time because that
This
does look
guy.
exact. Yeah, click on that second one. No, the $99 one.
Oops, sorry.
So you can
This
even say
one,
you
oh,
can
this guy.
read what the description says or show what the description says.
Is yours magnetic or no?
No,
Yeah,
no. I
because
mean,
the
these are
hand on
definitely replicas. They're made of resin and epoxy and painted.
It states it's a resin replica right there. And that these snap together with small neodymium magnets. I have not seen a neodymium magnet in any of yours.
Yeah.
It's the fact that they say that they are replicas, which would insinuate that they are replicating original artifacts.
Yep.
Right.
And the fact that they also
Oh, you
have,
can see
you
the
know,
magnet in the bottom of that.
that you can order like 40 of them if you wanted. You know what I mean? They have,
yeah.
They're
but
all
and
the
they only
same.
have like a few designs. There's only a few that they've made. The guys that do it are great. I mean, I think it's a great idea, and they put a lot of effort into it. The only problem is it does confuse people, and this was one thing I even told them, like, but it's obvious when you hold them and handle them. Like, this is obviously not stone, but
Yeah, I mean, all of it's weird.
Indeed. And that's why you continue on with your investigation, why you're working on getting an AI database of all of the symbols, documenting it, comparing it. And yeah, no, Redcap, no, I would know you're not trying to bash. It's incredible questions and it needs to
absolutely.
be dealt with, right? And
Yep. Ask
like we
questions always. I mean, I was the biggest skeptic on this in the world. So like I bet my buddy 5 grand cash that I could prove it to be false. That's why I spent so much money doing it in the first place. Like I really was trying to win a bet. And I figured one way or another I was going to come out a winner. I was either going to come out with a bunch of pieces that were real, or I was going to come out as a $5,000 winner. So either way I was going to win. And the clout, which is a big thing for me, is to be right. I'm an only child, so I like to understand things, and I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong, but um just like to know the truth, and so
When you're
yeah, we're definitely still undecided on the bet, and it's getting pretty meek though that I'm probably gonna have to pay this kid 5 grand. So.
when you're going around the room, I saw like a tripod looking thing with a bowl.
Tripod thing. Oh yeah, a pipe. Yeah.
Oh, Redcap. He's okay. Scott Wolter from American Unearthed is working with Mike and written the prelude to your current
He's
book
going to
and
ride the
has some
forward.
samples.
Yeah, he's going to ride the forward to it once the book's complete. Not done yet, so he hasn't been able to read it to
Fair.
conclude the forward. But yeah, it's coming. He was the one that took this apart here, and for carbon dating as well as thermoluminescence on the ceramic piece that goes inside of it. I met him down in Las Vegas here in November, and we had a lot of talks about these pieces. The guys from Tula that pull a lot of these pieces out of the ground, specifically like this, were there as well, showcasing. And so yeah, really the biggest part that Scott was going to try to do was order DNA and carbon 14 on these skulls. And so I sent him over a few pieces, including that, because this piece here is double datable because it's thermoluminescent and carbon 14 dated. And but getting the labs to do anything, Scott had to basically tell me sorry and send me my pieces back. Um, I ended up having to go out of the country to France to get testing done.
Right, and like that, just so many places refuse to touch it or deal with it.
Hmm.
And I have definitely not been able to find no fluorite telescope on Etsy.
Yeah, that's or jade heads or things that are decked out in go like there's a lot of things that aren't on there. 4 foot tall staffs with crystal skulls on them that weigh 112 pounds. I mean, you're not going to find a lot of these things on Etsy for sure, even as replicas. And I've looked into making some replicas of some of these, just like I said, for study and for to put on our TikTok shop, and because people always ask to buy stuff, and a lot of these pieces are not for sale. Like, there's no way I could ever put a price on this telescope. But if I could sell a replica of it, and even if it was 1/3 the size or something, this would be a cool thing to have as a bookend or something, right? So put some weight at the bottom of it, and I mean, so it's something we've definitely put some effort to. It's beautiful art, and it's worth displaying in some situations or some people's galleries. You're muted again, but yeah,
I was just
Bernie.
smiling.
Okay. I was just smiling.
Exactly, Redcap. Truth can withstand scrutiny, and that's what I'm saying. Like, we're not hiding anything. We're looking
Yeah.
into it. We're trying to find answers. And from what I've seen, these are all originals, and they match the exact same inscriptions and symbolic letters, pictographic language as the ones Nassim and Klaus Donna. Nassim Haramein and Klaus Donna originally came out with 12 years ago from the same sites. And that's where I believe they're coming from, and from this
And to
cave.
the Gen 6 documentary, if you've seen, these are the same pieces coming from there as well. Or if you know of the book, Mexico Paleo Contact, this is a great book to check out. It's on Amazon, or maybe Barnes and Noble too. But it's two PhDs, Oleg Elistrov and Andrei Zhukov. These guys put together a full compendium of the Abuelo stuff. They've done carbon dates, ceramic, thermoluminescent stuff, and really documented the symbols and different things that essentially I'm showing you here today, but in a much more organized fashion.
Right, and those are
And
all of
it
the
goes deep, you
original.
know, there's thousands and thousands of these vehicles and different spaceships, ceramic pieces, different looking beings. You can see these almost look like the ant people
Oh,
or the ant
what?
beings. Mm-hmm.
I had not seen those ones before.
You should get
Nah,
this book. It's
book,
really
yeah.
for $20. I mean, you really. This reminds me of like what was it, Hong Shan? I think that has similar things to this.
Yeah, and I've seen some, I think, similar to that in Africa too.
Hmm. Yeah, they did really good. It's all on Abuelos, so if you're looking for Tula stuff, you're not gonna find it here. But that's why I'm writing my book, because crucial, crucial to document both. Hmm.
Wait,
And
can
hey,
we check?
it's like, to each your own. You don't want to believe it, don't believe it, and might turn out wrong, but it might turn out right. I just find it fascinating, beautiful, and so do a lot of people here.
Can we check out that tripod thing?
Yeah. Almost forgot. Yeah, so this is really an interesting piece too. I got excited because I don't usually take it off here and show it too often, but it's a full blown pipe, and the bowl comes down through this leg here into the black stone, and then all the way back, and then it goes up the leg, the right leg, through the body, and then you smoke out the head.
See, so like,
It's a really
are
interesting.
there resins in that? And it's on a foot. Like,
It's a foot with a
that's
crazy dragon, I think, that
what?
goes all the way around it or something.
Oh, okay.
Or a snake, yeah.
Snake. Never mind. I thought it was scripture. Scripts. So
The
yeah, the
significance.
script on that one. Is there resin in it? Like, can you get like
This one
that? Should
didn't
be
seem
easily
to have
tested.
any resin in the bowl per se, um, that was visible. So some of them, I absolutely, this one didn't, but like this one over here, um, has been tested, and it's like 9,800 years old.
So that one had resin. You tested it and came back 9,800 years old.
Yep, you can see where it was
The
taken out in there. Kinda,
the
you can kind of see it. There we go.
the tripod artifact, if it is fake, it had to be been made by someone who has knowledge of the mystery religion, is where I'm trying to go with this, because the tripods were used in like the oracles and like all the old ancient Greek cities. They would
Oh,
have an eternal flame burning there. So to have the product put into that pipe in that position to be lit on that tripod, that you, like, say for example, you're sacrificing to the Pythian priestess, that's
yeah, and
what
he's
you would do.
holding something too. Look, yeah,
And then you're consuming the smoke through the head as well, which could, because they would have like psychedelic experiences within these temples. So I
yep.
think that's pretty
That's
interesting.
huge right
So
there. I'm gonna have to come smoke something out of that one
Well,
day.
Look at this pipe here. This,
That
this one doesn't have resin either, but it's got this weird. I mean, it's a snake, obviously, but it's got a poker and like a little griddle type thing that sits in there, all mosaic. But a little poker is really it's pretty crazy. I figured that was something that was made in like 70s or something probably.
right? Yeah.
Let's see here. I wonder. This is a base, so that the ball that went on this was actually destroyed in shipment, and but I'll put this one on there and see if it holds it. Yeah, it won't even hold it. You can see it's trying to fall off of here. They really are only like made for themselves. Like this is the one for this ball here.
Fascinating stuff. We are actually now at the 2-hour mark, so it's getting the late 1 a.m.
Yeah.
here. Any last words? We'll tie up this episode, wrap it up, I guess.
Let's do it. Time went by quick.
Just real quick, can you pull up my screen so I can show that?
Oh, sorry.
Because even with the dragon connection on that pipe, a lot of times there's a serpent depicted with the tripod.
Interesting.
But yeah, that's about it.
Really?
Yeah, and
That's
that
quite
puffing
wild.
the magic dragon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so someone did an elaborate joke because they knew a lot about it and they have a familiarity with
I found that a
Mythology
lot.
or-
That culturally, these pieces are more significantly relative than. I mean, the deeper I can dig, the more relevant they become. Is a better way to put it. And so, that's been pretty surprising. I didn't think we would find this many significant coincidences. Like you said, someone would have to be playing a joke, but like, damn, they would have to be Einstein level genius to play it on this many levels at once with this many pieces of stone, right?
Yeah, some
And
of
it
them.
would sorry, Sean, continue.
I was gonna say some of them just look ridiculous to me, to be honest. But other ones I think it's suspicious how you have 3 or 4 different depictions of the same god if these are all allegedly from the same time period in the same site. Because
No, the carbon dates are 10 to 20,000 years old, so it ranges over a 10,000 year span.
Oh yeah, carbon dating is off by thousands of years in some examples.
But also thermoluminescence being consistent with it.
Yeah, I mean,
on
like I said,
multiple
that's why I don't really even want to give my opinion on this too much because obviously I haven't looked into these at all. This is like a first hand, like this is the first at a first
If
glance.
you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out, man. I'm here to talk anytime. Like I absolutely put a lot of love and into this topic. So if there's anything I can answer or help guide you in the direction of, don't hesitate. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just be keeping up with it because I'm interested in figuring out, I guess, why there would be these symbols and what they could mean compared to what they mean in other places around the world. Like I would love to hear some mythology behind this.
I agree.
Me too. And I find for me, there's a lot of parallels with the artifacts and the wide spectrum of these proto languages and stuff in them as compared to the Crespi collection, and that there seems to be a lot, just too many parallels on that. Yeah. But on that note, thank you everyone for watching, and we will continue into this investigation on the next one. And
have a good night, everyone. Shout out to the chat.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you everyone for watching. We will see you on next.
Crazy mother. Yeah.
It's just BurnEye.
Hey, Bernie, just like last week.